Well, the question that I always had when I heard about those models and read about them and the competencies associated with them was about what exactly are we aware of? And what exactly are we managing? This thing called emotions. And the reason that it matters is because there's a lot of beautiful wisdom and brilliance in our hearts and in our core that I don't want to just be aware of and manage. I want us to be able to use, because our emotions are with us to protect and inform us. They're not there just for fun, and they link our mind and our heart and our soul and our spirit. And so I want to bring forward the concept of paying attention to all three of your brains, the one in your head, as well as the one in your heart and the one in your core. So imagine all three of our brains have some electromagnetic force that emanate, right, from us just because. So now think about that electromagnetic force from your head brain. And now double it. And now times it by 10, by 100, by 1,000. Now by 5,000. The human heart has 5,000 times the electromagnetic force of the human brain and 60 times the amplitude. So you have a person, Joe, charges off and does stuff. He demands accountability, he pushes the envelope, he's got a bias for action, he just goes off and does stuff. I wish he'd slow down and think about the ramifications once in a while, or maybe consider how people might feel about it. Right? Joe's default superpower is courage. And it's a wonderful thing because it does get things done. But Joe would be so much more powerful and impactful if he could learn to slow down and pay attention to the other two brains. So one of the key things to remember when you're looking at paying attention to your emotions is paying attention to whose emotion is it, yours or theirs. You know, some of you, I know how it is when you walk into a room and you feel something, right? You're feeling someone's emotion. It's just important to know which is yours and which is theirs. And sometimes highly sensitive people will respond to others' emotions rather than their own. So the first thing when it comes to us is recognize which brain you're in. And then the way that I put it to coaches is invite the other two to have a seat at the table. So, okay, I know how I feel about this. Okay, heart superpower, can you just rest for a minute? Let's ask clarity and connection and courage. Ask clarity and courage what they think. Now be quiet. Be quiet, connection. Listen to the other two and let's hear them. So it starts with us being able to practice that. And again, like I said, I love this because you already have it all. You know, it's not something you have to go out and use. It's just being aware, practice being aware. And then use that knowledge and wisdom. When we coach other people, here's how it works. Here's how I do it. You can do it however you want, but this is how I do it. First, meet them where they are in the brain they're in. Pause. Invite the other two brains to show up. And then recognize the results. Does that make sense? So let me give you an example. An emotion is a good one because that's the one that's the hardest for people. The thing that people need most when they're emotional is validation of the feeling. If you take nothing else away from this session, the thing people need most when they're having a strong emotion is validation of that emotion. And it's best if you can name that emotion. Do you ever say, I understand, but? How does that work for empathy? Why are you laughing? Why does I understand, but not work? Pardon me? Because number one, you don't understand. Chances are you don't, and even if you do, they don't care. Right? And number two, you're changing the focus to you, not them. So you're not showing empathy where they are. You're not meeting them where they are. Does that make sense? So for example, this guy's been late 4 times out of the last 5 days, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. God, isn't that frustrating when that happens? Somebody just doesn't show up. Meet them where they are. Would you like to talk about why that is and what we might be able to do about it, some different strategies, and then decide what action we want to take? Great. We've talked about it. We think we have a plan of action. We're going to do this. How do you feel about it before they walk out? Good? Yeah. Off you go. I coached a lady that was in compliance. Oh man, all head and all core, man. Everything was logic and getting things done. And everything stopped when I said, so how are you doing with this? How do you feel when you're telling people this? And so she had to learn and how do they feel when you do it? And how can you help you and them get it together? Pull all three in. So it's a really simple but very powerful way to look at emotional intelligence by using all three of our brains.